When you discovered the law of attraction, you started to believe anything was possible. Life got better, much better. Now you want more, but it's not working. That's where the Manifest It Now show comes in. If you've been waiting for someone who can teach you the practical application to manifest quicker and easier while having more, turn the volume up, because the dynamic duo, Cassie Parks and Ginny Gane, are ready to teach you how to live the law of attraction like they do. It's time to laugh and learn.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Manifest It Now. I'm here with Cassie Parks.
And I'm here with Ginny Gane.
And for our final episode of our season, we are on the W of Manifest It Now, which stands for wisdom. We are going to talk about what it means to have wisdom in this experience, and actually how you guys have been really practicing this and stepping into this if you've been listening to and applying the exercises every week of this season.
Yes, I'm excited because we're going to... wisdom is key to manifesting, and we're going to give you that definition and what does that mean. But it is so key to not just manifesting. It's key to this, what we were talking about last week, like opening to more and stepping into that beingness that we've talked about, right?
Yeah. What are you excited about, Cass?
Everything.
The quintessential Cassie answer.
Right?
Yeah.
Everything is just awesome. My relationship is awesome. My kid is awesome. Getting to see some family has been awesome. The days are awesome. My clients are awesome. My coaches are awesome. Like, it's just all awesome.
There was a time in my life when, shortly after the Lego movie came out, where I was like, would blare Everything is that song. Everything is awesome song as I'm driving around to clients. I remember it was years and years ago. But still, when you say that, it makes me laugh. Brings me back.
Oh, that's awesome. What are you excited about?
I'm excited about Costco. It's such a constant joy in my life. It's still so silly, but Lee and I love going there, and he mentions how the experience is more joyful with you, observing your just pure joy of being there. And I'm like, I know it's not reasonable. And so we just have a lot of fun going there.
I love it.
Yeah, I know. Plus all the good stuff you get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay. So what do people think wisdom means?
I think maybe know it. They think it means knowing it all.
Yeah. Intellectually knowing everything.
Right.
I know, I have all the answers. I know how it works. I know blah, blah. Yes. Knowing it all.
Yeah.
Totally. And so, but how do people get this wrong?
They don't distinguish between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is that the things that happen in your head, like the learning.
The learning.
And the wisdom comes from experience.
It's totally following last week's episode of opening to more and going deeper. The wisdom is that deeper part. It's connecting to your experience, your physical life experience, not just what's going on in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we think that if I know more, if I learn more, I'll be able to manifest more money. Yeah.
Yeah. And so this is because I think people, they think, oh, if I learn more about manifesting, I'll be able to manifest more money. And sometimes it's if I learn how to do money right, I'll be able to manifest. But they don't get that wisdom, that experience of, okay, what does it mean to invest in this or that, right? They're looking for that knowledge of how do I do it right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of seeking to fulfill that mental part of, and your brain does seek knowledge. Your mind wants to know things, but you don't you don't become more successful at manifesting money by knowing more things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or knowing more ways of people manifesting money, or knowing, more mantras,
more hows,
yeah,
more tools, more things. Yeah. By just knowing them. We talked about that a little bit last week of sometimes you think you know, or a couple weeks ago, you think you know what to do. But it's actually the application of it that's the most important part.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that's where wisdom comes in, is having that experience of what you have learned already.
Yes.
How would you describe it, Kat, or define it?
I would say having the experience plus knowledge. And it's really to know when you need help, where you need help, where your cracks are, and what you really need. So this wisdom, it comes, but it is twofold. Like a lot of it is knowing where we need support from, like going through the experience, like, hey, where am I not nailing this, right? And that comes from the experience of doing it and applying it, not learning it, but applying it. But then it's also the wisdom of who you're becoming when you go through that experience.
Yeah. I think that when you have this wisdom part, or you're starting to notice this in yourself after you've been on this journey for a little while, it really allows you to relax into the journey a lot more, because you have this new perspective, you have experience having gone through a whole bunch of different things, and not only watched the process outside of you unfold, but what happens inside. So you start to like get it, you start to really have the wisdom and understand. And like I've experienced that when I'm feeling this way and I act this way and that unfolds, or this happens outside of me and then I choose my response about, so maybe I'm checking my bank account and, oh yeah, this used to happen all the time for me, checking my bank account and I'm like, oh, there's not enough in there. And then you have the wisdom to, because you've experienced this enough, that that's going to change.
Yes.
Right? So because you have the wisdom, you can relax about it now. You don't have to then you don't just fall into trying to control the conditions. Yeah. So it's very similar to Cass, like define it as having the experiential understanding of the process. And I think another place this really shows up is Cass and I love talking about how there's a breakthrough after a breakdown.
Yes.
And so the first time you go through that is like really not fun.
It's not.
You're like really scared in your breakdown that things are going wrong and you're not doing it right and this is not going to change and all those things. But after you've had a few, and especially with being supported in either a group or with a coach, you have the experience, you have the wisdom that it's okay. And so it makes that breakdown way easier. It's still not comfortable, but you're not totally losing yourself in it, in the experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember like the very first time that I was like sad and upset and I'm crying. And as I'm crying, I'm at the same time thinking, this is fine. And like I had enough wisdom in that experience to know, or to move through, or to have access to that thought. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what's a story about wisdom that you've experienced in money? Wisdom
A money
and money
story? Oh yeah. So one of my biggest ones and most impactful ones for me has been come along in building my business. And there's always this constant, or I have experienced a constant pressure in like, you gotta do marketing, you gotta invest in this and invest in this. There's always ways, things for you to buy, people for you to invest in, coaches, processes, etc. And the first part of this is like at the beginning, just being pulled in different directions and not having enough wisdom that like what I was called to was actually best for me. So I did a few circles. I did a few like go down this path and then come back to like that. It didn't work and it didn't feel good, and then come back to what I wanted. But one of the biggest examples was when I invested like $20,000 in marketing, and I had the money. So that was a new level, or that was a good step. But it came from that excitement place. So if you go back to our excitement episode versus inspiration, I was like caught up in kind of the hype of what I needed to do. And I invested that money, and it was the energy that went into that was what I thought was inspired. And Cassie's laughing. She's laughing at me right now because she knew it, because she already had this wisdom. She could already see it from that outside perspective, had this experience, and kind of had an idea of what might happen, and trying to be a supportive friend. I remember sharing this with her, and she was like, okay, and I remember it was so funny, like being like, I can tell she doesn't believe me. Like I can tell like her energy. And I was like, that's stupid Cassie. Like she doesn't know what's going on. And if I had had enough wisdom or awareness at that time, I would have caught my own reaction, like my own resistance. And like, that's actually the sign of truth there. There was actually a sign of like that truth there, what Cassie was tuned into. And anyway, so that experience was not like mind-blowingly successful in the way I thought it would be, in the way that they told me it would be or should be. And so the next time I had to kind of, work through that. It took me actually a few months to kind of get over not feeling like that was a failure. But the next time that came up for me, I was like, I had the wisdom. I'm like, and you know what? If I didn't process that and come to a place of acceptance that it was a good part of my journey and not judging it as a failure, I wouldn't have the same level of acceptance going into the next place where, again, it's like, apparently the next best thing is for you to invest all this money in marketing in this way. And I was able to really confidently and like, I want to say calmly, but there wasn't that same excitement energy. I was able to take it as more neutral and say like, okay, is this the right next step? It wasn't all caught up in like what I should do and the emotional thing, because I remembered, okay, yeah, I remember that experience. I have the wisdom to move through this differently. So it wasn't an automatic no, like I wasn't pushing against it, but I was able to step back and be who I wanted to be and then make the best choice for me moving forward. Mm-hmm. And so I needed to have that.
Right.
Yeah. And like, I appreciate it almost. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I do.
Yeah, which is why I also had the wisdom not to like
I know
push, right? Yes. It's like a question I don't even remember. You remember better than me. I remember like, ooh, I don't.
Because I asked you. I asked you. I was like, what do you think? Yeah, and it was a very neutral answer. And so that's how I knew.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Which comes from wisdom of when someone is in that place, I'm not going to talk you out of it. I'm not going to make you see, because you don't have the wisdom. Mm-hmm. You don't have that experience of, oh, I know what this feels like, or I know I was kind of just wanting this, but I wasn't paying attention, right? Mm-hmm. You didn't have that experience yet. Like if I asked today, like you're not doing this today, but like if you said, if something else came up and you're like, what do you think? I'll be like, maybe there's similar energy to that thing. And then you would have the wisdom to pay attention. But
yeah, then it's not Cassie telling me what's right or wrong. It's like me knowing my own experience of it. Yes. And then like me getting to choose.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just when you were talking, it reminded me of this concept of like the caterpillar has to struggle to get out of the cocoon or it can't fly. Right. And this, it's not really, doesn't fit in, but that's a big part of wisdom. When we are breaking through of that cocoon, we are strengthening and developing our own innate wisdom.
Yeah. I mean, that's perfect lead into one of my stories. Mm-hmm. This is one of the biggest like wisdom, and it's that experience. You know, I had investment properties and I mean, I still do, but I have, you know, these the first ones, and I had to evict someone. And, you know, I was patient and I was all these things, and I really tried to work with them, and it was like, this is no more. And I was scared to go through that process. Like, I didn't know, like, these forms, like, am I filling out the forms right? Am I going to drive all the way on my lunch hour and it's going to be wrong? Like, nervous about putting the notice on the door, you know, all of these things from this fear place. And I had to go not through the entire process. They ended up leaving when they realized, but that I wasn't anymore going to be nice or change the rules, you know? And but going through that experience, that it was kind of a struggle. It was a struggle. It was not comfortable. It didn't feel good. I didn't like being that person. But the next time, but it made me stronger. It made me better with money. It made me better with my investments because I wasn't afraid. Like, I did it I'm like, okay. So the next time, you know, when this comes up, and someone and I had, like, he had missed a month and our agreement, I'm like, hey, I gave him the out. Like, you can just leave and we don't have to do any of this. Like, just leave. We'll call it even, like, whatever. And, like, he was supposed to be out by a certain day, and he texted me the next day and was like, oh, I can't be out or something. And I'm like, oh, that's not an option. Like, you need to be out. And I can't remember,
Yeah.
like, he came back at me with basically like a threat.
Yeah.
And because I had the wisdom of the experience, I could step into my power and say, that's fine. Like, if you want me to go through the channels of evicting you, I will do that.
I know how to do that.
I know how to do that. And if I'm doing that, I will go for the maximum money that I'm allowed. Because if I got to go through that process, there's no deal, right?
Yeah.
And he magically got the place cleaned and out the next day.
Yeah, because you came from a place of like power versus strength.
Yeah.
I mean, versus fear. Yeah.
Yeah, versus fear. Like, you weren't going to intimidate me. I know, I have the experience to know who I need to be, what I'm allowed to do, what the law is, right?
Yeah. So like that is why as you develop your own wisdom on this manifesting journey, it's almost like it gets easier and easier, but like your belief in yourself, your because you have, sorry, I'm like stumbling all over the place, but you build your experiences and it allows you to step into your power easier. And like in a moment's like question or reflection or anything like that, as you acknowledge how valuable all of these experiences have been for you and all of the wisdom that you have embodied or have, I don't want to say taken away, but like that you're living now, that's within you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Which makes you a better manifester.
It does.
And by better, I mean more powerful, easier, faster, trusting the process, all of that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of ways that we can practice this, is that we want you to think of a time, and if you have a money story, great. If not, where that knowledge and that experience really supported you. Right? And maybe it was someone else's wisdom that you leaned on. Sometimes we can lean on others' wisdom, like if we're open. But that knowledge plus that experience, how did that change how you showed up, who you were being? And it could be in terms of manifesting. It could just be in terms of life, because that is manifesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you have a money example, think of that. If not, you can go outside of money to think of when you really had that experience of the knowledge, and the experience to create that wisdom in something that you're doing.
Mm-hmm. And you felt like, oh yeah, I've been here before. I know how to move through this differently, or I'm ready to. And I think that one of the powerful things we want you guys to practice this week, well, it's not practice this week, kind of right now, is take an honest evaluation of the past 12 weeks for you. So like what wisdom did you gain? What is a different experience that you have had with money over these past 12 weeks? Did you do it? Did you like get it? Did you need more after you did it? It's just this honest evaluation. It's not placing judgment about what's right or wrong or what should have been. It's just kind of like give yourself that space to look back over the 12 weeks and self-reflect on what it was for you.
Yeah. And that can be looking at all the things too that you did. So you can look back at the steps, or if you do have access to the hub and you've done all the worksheets, take a review of that to remind yourself of the knowledge, but the experience, thus having the wisdom that you have now.
Mm-hmm. The reflection back is going to help clarify the wisdom that you have gained through this.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So we also want you to acknowledge if there's anywhere that you need help. Where in money do you need wisdom or maybe coaching to help you get that wisdom? Mm-hmm. Be honest with yourself. Whether you don't have to make a commitment. This is just opening, like, yeah, I think I do need some coaching to get more wisdom, to, get more guidance for that.
Yeah. So this question is for you to reflect on what is best for you. Mm-hmm. And then we want to give you, of course, our power statement about wisdom. I know that when I engage in wisdom, I experience more success.
I know that when I engage in wisdom, I experience more success.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
God, it's the end of our season, Cass.
I know. Before we go, it's amazing to me sometimes that listeners don't realize this, so I want to say it very clearly. We're both available for coaching.
Yes.
And I don't mean that they think one or the other of us isn't. I just, sometimes it doesn't click. Like, this is what we do. We support people. We love sharing with you guys on the podcast and helping you this way. We also love, you will hear us talk about our clients, and those are our coaching clients in our programs. And so we're both available for that. Ginny, what, just like a quick description of your coaching?
What happens in Live Your Truth World?
Yeah. Yeah.
So everyone who comes in starts with LOA Skills Camp, which is an 8-week course, and it involves both group and one-on-one coaching. And that's really like the place where you step into your power. And after that place, or after that course, you then have the opportunity to join the next stage in the Live Your Truth process. And that is, if we're talking about money, that's where you get to go a little bit more specific into abundance and practice aligning with that experience in your life, as well as all the other areas in your life, but just touching on money too. But so yeah, starting with LOA Skills Camp is where we start.
Awesome.
Yeah. What about you?
And someone would go to jennygane.com for that?
Yep.
Awesome. So for me, all of the work starts with manifesting money. It starts with, there's actually pre-work to set you up for success in Manifest 10K. And so you can do that pre-work. Anyone can just hop on and do that, so you get a taste of it. And then you can decide, do you want to work with me, which is an upfront investment, or if you want to work with one of the amazing coaches, abundance facilitators that I've trained, you can join Manifest 10K and pay after you manifest, working with one of them. And there'll be other links in the future, but CassieParks.com will always take you there.
Yeah. And this is unsolicited, but Cass, if you've been loving this season and you are ready to manifest up and like your money, and you've been loving this and you're like, get coaching with Cassie. Like, of all the people I know, she's living it and she does it and she has the structure and she, like, it's very powerful experience, and it's something that sticks with you forever. It's not, you're not going to learn. You're going to get the wisdom. And so just wanted to add that in.
Thank you.
All right. We will see you guys next season. Have the most amazing time. And as always, if you want to kind of catch the behind the scenes and what's happening in between our seasons, you can head over to manifestitnowshow.com and join us in our private hub, where Cass and I will be continuing to share lots of behind the scenes stuff.
Yes. Hi, it's Cassie. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Manifest It Now. I hope you're ready to go out and be extra awesome. If you're looking for more resources, support, ways to engage with LOA, or shift your money mindset, you can go to CassieParks.com. That's CassieParks.com, and click on complimentary, like cocktails, coaching. Go to CassieParks.com and click on complimentary coaching for more in-depth into LOA, how to shift your money mindset, how to identify your money story, and even more to help you go be even more awesome. CassieParks.com, complimentary coaching.
Go be awesome! Thank you for joining us on the Manifest It Now show, where you learn how to leverage the law of attraction to manifest your dreams. Now that you're inspired, share the love and review us on iTunes. While you're there, remember to subscribe.